The Batman, I'm just gonna say it, was just awesome. And I will say this too, I think Robert Pattinson is the best Batman we've ever had. Yep, after one viewing I can say that Robert Pattinson, on screen, live action, is the best Batman we've ever had. Bruce Wayne, I'm not entirely sold on just yet, but we will talk about that. I was lucky enough to see the Batman early, so I'm gonna give you my quick thoughts right now. Hey guys, my name is Brandon, aka the BrandoCritic. Thank you guys so much for being here. I really do appreciate it. If you guys are new here, then hit like and subscribe. But if you really want to support the channel, then come follow me on Patreon and go follow my partners at Movie Scene Canada. Their links are down below in the description. So, we have The Batman from director Matt Reeves, and you know him from such films as Cloverfield and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and War for the Planet of the Apes. And it stars Robert Pattinson, Zoë Kravitz, John Turturro, Paul Dano, Jeffrey Wright, Colin Farrell, and a ton more. And the movie's about Batman investigating the killings of a lot of Gotham politicians by the Riddler, and he's trying to figure out what his big master plan is. So is The Batman worth a watch? Well, if you watch the intro of this video, then you will know yes. This movie is awesome. I got superhero chills in this movie, and if you guys know me at all, that's a rarity nowadays because people have always asked me, are you excited for Doctor Strange or Thor or, any other bigger superhero movie that's coming out next? And I always go, not really, because it's very hard for me to get excited for superhero films nowadays because we get 10 of them a year, plus TV now. We get the Disney Plus shows and we get the Peacemaker show and all this stuff. It's very hard to get excited because we just have so many of them. But this movie does not feel like a superhero movie. This movie feels more in the lines of Seven or The Usual Suspects. This is a crime mystery. And for superhero movies to really keep me invested, they're gonna have to expand into other genres and keep them fresh, and The Batman definitely does that. There isn't much action in this movie. There is action, and it is amazing, but there's not much of it. The bulk of this movie is Batman and Commissioner Gordon and Selina Kyle, aka Catwoman, piecing together the mystery from the Riddler and looking into the clues and the motives. It's very different and a very fresh, unique take on the Batman because the tone, the look, and the feel of this movie is the reason why I really got invested into this movie and the reason why I think you guys will like it too. Because right off the bat, there is this narration from Bruce Wayne, and again, I won't spoil the movie. This is just like a minor, this is how the movie kind of starts off. A narration from Bruce Wayne, and he mentions the bat signal and how it's not just a call for help from the citizens for Batman, but it's also a warning to the criminals of the city. A way to spark fear into all the wrongdoings of the people of Gotham. And I immediately thought, okay, this movie's gonna be smart. Fear is a tool, and this film knows that. And this movie also talks about how avenging the past doesn't mean we have a great future. It's hope that will bring a great future. And this movie really understands what the essence is of a hero who saves the day, who inspires, who brings hope to those who have none. It's so funny how we have so many superhero films and I don't feel like I get that message from a lot of them. But in The Batman, a movie that does not feel like a superhero film, has the essence of what superhero films should be. A hero that inspires people and gives us hope and sparks fear into the people who do wrong. And I also love how contained and down to earth and dirty and gritty this movie felt. It felt very real, and I love just seeing Batman go into a crime scene and then look around and look for clues. It wasn't this over the top gigantic movie, even though it is 3 hours long, and we'll talk about the runtime later on, but it felt down to earth. I loved how Batman fought off his enemies. I love how Batman used his gadgets. It felt very real. And Gotham looked unique too. We've seen the over-the-top Gotham from the Tim Burton Batman movies, and we've seen the more realistic, just, everyday Chicago, New York City version in the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight trilogy. But this movie definitely has its own version of Gotham, kind of like a rundown 1930s Art Deco New York, which just, I guess, never got updated, and it still has some of those Art Deco neon signs, but you can tell that this is a modern movie, but nothing has been updated. All of the money that apparently Thomas Wayne has been giving to the city has not been going towards the city. It's been going towards a lot of bad people, and the city has just become run down. And I loved that aesthetic for this movie. It definitely did feel like a Seven or Usual Suspects or a movie like that. And while the city looked run down, the movie itself is just beautiful. This is probably the best looking Batman film I've ever seen. Every single shot looks like a painting. The cinematography is just astounding in this movie. I was often taken aback by just how beautiful the frame was. This movie is just a work of art. And now let's talk about the action. There isn't much of it in this movie, and I do think that some people, some younger children, will find this movie boring because they want to see Batman kicking ass and everything. There are only 2 big action sequences in this movie, and one of them, you see it in the trailer. is just so cool. And I've seen a lot of action movies. I've seen a lot of superhero movies. I do think that this action sequence, the Batmobile, yep, it's that chase, is the best action sequence in a superhero film since the train sequence in Spider-Man 2. It's that good. I wanted to jump up and cheer in the movie theater. And in Canada, we don't do that. I wanted to. I was reserved. This was a press screening. I wanted to be respectful to my fellow critics, but god damn it, it was just so cool. I can't stop saying how cool it was. It was just so cool. Again, not fanboying out. I'm not even the biggest Batman guy, but again, the action in this movie was great. But the most important part about it was that it didn't feel like the action was just made for the trailer. It wasn't made just to get people in the seats. It definitely felt like the story came first, and then the action sequences were really backed by the motivations of the characters and the plot, as opposed to just, yep, we need Batman to fight in a bank. We need a Batman to chase someone in the Batmobile. We just need to put that in the trailer. We need to put this, and we can make toys out of this. It didn't feel like that at all. It felt like a story, not a product. But let's talk about the cast. Robert Pattinson. When he was announced as Batman, I'm like, Edward Cullen? Really? And I'm sure a lot of people felt like that. But I thought to myself, you know what? When Michael Keaton was cast as Batman back in 1989, people would actually write into Warner Brothers and say, like, I'm so unhappy with this decision. How can you cast Michael Keaton as Batman? This is atrocious. And then they saw the movie and then, you know, people were like, oh yeah, you know what? Michael Keaton did a good job as Batman. And I'm like, you know what? Hollywood, these casting directors make a lot of money. They probably know what they're doing. And they definitely knew what they were doing. Robert Pattinson is fantastic as Batman. Probably my favorite version of Batman on screen. The look, the costume, the voice, the mannerisms, all of it worked. He really sells those action sequences, and he's not trying to be cool. It didn't feel forced that he was trying to be bad. He just was bad. But he also felt like a human. He felt broken. He felt like he needed to continue his parents' legacy with trying to help the city of Gotham. Now, as Bruce Wayne, I will admit though that at the end of the movie, he really did win me over as Bruce Wayne. But for the most part, and this is probably just a pretty mundane complaint, his hairstyle and his mannerisms and the way he was acting, he kind of felt like a Korean emo boy band version of Bruce Wayne. I'm kind of craving for the days of Christian Bale's Bruce Wayne. He kind of felt like a mute, just like, I'm Bruce Wayne now. It's like, no, that's what Batman's supposed to be like. But overall, I did end up liking Bruce Wayne, or Robert Pattinson's portrayal as Bruce Wayne, near the end of the film as opposed to the beginning. Again, I just wasn't used to it. Now let's talk about the Riddler. Paul Dano is great as the Riddler. Now, I'm happy that they did not go with the Joker. And yes, Paul Dano is not as good as the Heath Ledger Joker, or not even as good as Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. But he is very good in the movie. He is very scary. And what's great about him is that he's not physically intimidating, but he's very smart and he's very maniacal, and that's what makes him terrifying. Now, I know that it's coming. Some people will complain that this movie is woke because it talks about politics and it talks about, you know, the lonely white kid who didn't grow up with any parental guidance and didn't get any love. So of course he's going to go to Reddit and he's going to get this following of people about how to change the world. And it's a lot of angry white people on the internet going, this is my time to be heard. Now you see me. Now they'll remember me. I'm now finally getting my time. And sure, some people might get upset about that, but these people are real. Trust me, people like this try to recruit me on this channel every single day. They're real. They're out there. There are people who want to cause harm to the world because they felt like they didn't get love as a child. They felt like they were betrayed and robbed of the love and the attention that they truly deserve. And it's the world's fault. And there's a lot of people like that today. So sure, I think that bringing in politics into movies like this can be somewhat of a double-edged sword, but I do think it works for the Riddler in this movie. It definitely modernizes him, but I do think that it will be relevant in years to come. It's not going to date the movie. Colin Farrell, though, unrecognizable. That makeup, holy shit, Oscar-worthy. Just fantastic. And I gotta give some love to Jeffrey Wright, too. Best Commissioner Gordon. Gary Oldman is good, but oh my god, Jeffrey Wright is just fantastic in this movie. When he is like yelling and getting really into it, you can tell it's like, yeah, Jeffrey Wright's a great actor. And Commissioner Gordon definitely has more of a spotlight in this movie, and he definitely has a lot of moments to shine. Zoë Kravitz, she's good in the movie, and I will admit that I think that she could have been played by many other actresses. She did a great job though. She wasn't, you know, bad by any means, but she wasn't spectacular. And minor spoiler, but there is a bit of a romance between Selena Kyle and the Batman, and I like how there is some romance in this movie. I find that superhero movies today are almost too shy to delve into romance, and I do think that love and romance is really lacking in superhero movies today. So I do like that the Batman had some of it in it. I bought it, and the score in this movie also was just fantastic. This movie it really, really did impress me. Now, there's only one complaint I have. The movie's 3 hours long. I don't think it needed to be 3 hours long. Now, I'm fine with long movies. I love the Lord of the Rings movies. I love Braveheart. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. However, I do think that runtime is warranted in movies like that because every single scene feels necessary. Whereas this movie, I definitely felt like at the 1 hour mark, I'm like, okay, this movie definitely is starting to feel very, very long. I did check my watch once, so I gotta ding the movie for that, I guess, to be like, all right, guys, like, what's going on here? I feel like this movie's 2 hours long. It's only been 1 hour. We've got 2 hours left to go, but I will admit that the second and third act definitely pick up. The first act definitely lays the groundwork for the world and the tone and the feel, which was great, but I did feel like the movie definitely had a little bit of a pacing issue. It's minor, but I gotta mention it. But overall, I was driving home from the theater just in awe of this movie. So sure, the pacing is an issue, but I definitely want to watch it again, and there are so many great things about this movie that, yep, I'm giving this movie a 5 out of 5. I gotta say, I love this movie, and it's so funny because I feel like a lot of people were like, this movie's gonna be great, this movie's gonna be great, and I'm like, guys, you don't know that, you haven't seen the movie yet, but I gotta say, I went in with an open mind, and I ended up loving this movie. Is it better than The Dark Knight, though? I don't know. I think I need to really let it marinate for a while, you know, maybe a couple years before I can really say if this movie is better than The Dark Knight, but it's good. It's very good. So those are my thoughts on the Batman. I would love to hear yours down in the comment section down below, and who is your favorite Batman actor? And again, thank you guys so much for sticking with me to the end of the video. I really do appreciate it. If you like this video and you want to see more videos just like it, then definitely hit like and subscribe. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Letterboxd at BrandoCritic, and you can follow me on Patreon just like these lovely people right here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you again soon. Take care.